Welcome to a special segment of the Pregame Pint. I am your host, Dalton Main. We are recording today from the mayor's office. I am joined, of course, by Louisville Mayor Greg Fischer. Mayor Fischer, thanks for coming on the show.
Great to be with you.
All right. Well, so we're going to talk a little bit about Louisville City FC, and you said you've been out to all the games, right?
Yeah, no, I love the FC and all the vibe at the games is great, and it's a high quality play as well.
And now, are you a big soccer fan? Have you been out to other games before, or is this new for you?
I've followed soccer a little bit my whole life, but no, I want Louisville City FC to be very successful here. Obviously, it's a city-owned stadium they're playing in, so we were involved in getting all that ready for them as well. Broad ownership group behind it, good group of players. The fan base, it turns out, is wonderful as well. So to me, I think this is a real exciting opportunity for us.
Okay, so you mentioned that, getting involved in helping out bringing the team here. What went into deciding to make that decision to invest in the team to help them make a home at Slugger Field? What did you look at to say, okay, this is something we want to put some money into to help them make a home there?
Well, first, I mean, sports are important for a city, and I happen to enjoy sports at the same time. So I see that come to play in many different sports. For decades, people have been saying, "Oh, soccer is going to be big. Soccer is going to be big." Well, I think we're at a moment in the country right now where you're seeing soccer take off, and I wanted to make sure that as a city that we were in one of those spaces. So as we grow a successful team here, there could be other opportunities open up for us with MLS, et cetera. But if we're not in the game, we're not going to be in discussion at the same time. So I wanted to help the city today and offer more attractions, bring in the international community as well, but then position us for potentially even greater things down the road.
So you mentioned that a lot of cities are looking at soccer. MLS is really taking off. What do you think it is about soccer that draws cities to look at that as this is the next growth in sports that we want to get in on?
Well, we all know that young people have been playing soccer now for probably the last 30, 40 years when it really started in the country, and it just gets bigger and bigger every year as a youth activity. So you're seeing sophisticated fans, American fans. Also, I think when I talk to some young folks, they talk about I guess it's FIFA soccer video game being the best of the video games. And so that brought in a new generation of fans to understand the game and appreciate it at the same time. And I never really appreciated that before I started talking to younger folks that aren't soccer players, but like soccer because of video games. So you add a couple of those things together, and then when you go to a game itself, it's a great vibe. As I said, you kind of got that constant low-level roar that's going on in the stadium. You got the drumming that's going on. With FC, our team, we've got purple smoke, going up like from the chimney of the Vatican, except it comes here from from our Slugger Field when we score our goals. Like last night was a high-scoring game. So, so it's a great atmosphere, both really for all five of your senses.
Now you mentioned the drums. Do you think are you going to get the Coopers to let you play the new bourbon barrel drums? Are you going to?
Yes, I would like to be a special guest to the Coopers. I've encouraged them to help build the support to get a team here, and they've been fantastic, by the way. I mean, they have met and exceeded every expectation, and of course, they're trying to expand their base and expand the experience, the fan experience at the same time. So any way I can help the Coopers within reason, I will do so.
Of course. Now, you participated in the March to the Match at least once. I think I saw pictures of that. What is that like? What do you think that does for helping people get out there and see the experience? I mean, you've been involved in that, right?
Yeah, no, it creates tradition, so it's not just rushing to the game. That's one of the great things about our soccer schedule here. It's not, every night and, where it's like, oh, I got to go to another game. I mean, you look forward to the next game. And so the tradition then of getting together before the game, maybe having a pint before the game, and then having the march over to get your game face on is all part of it. And that will grow and grow. I mean, we're really not even into the meat of the schedule yet, where the weather is going to be really even more pleasant than what it has been. So I think these traditions will grow. The crowd's going to grow. As the word gets out as well, it's like you've got a bunch of high quality experiences happening in and around the game. And as long as that quality is kept up, it's going to grow.
Yeah. So when you look at the growth of the game, when you look at these games and everything, once you've invested in the team, how do you gauge whether or not that investment is a success?
Well, there's a couple easy ways to do it. One is attendance, right? I mean, do the people in the city support the team? and I think we're the number 2 most attended team in the league right now in our first year. And as I've
Hmm.
talked to Phil Rollins, for instance, down from Orlando City FC, and obviously they've got a little piece of the action here, and we're their affiliated team. He says already the atmosphere around our games in our stadium is in the top 2 or 3 in the league. So, and as you go to each of the games, last night was the 4th game, you don't see that at all declining. You can see it picking up, especially here, as I
Hmm.
mentioned, the summer is coming. So it's attendance, it's atmosphere at the games. Now it helps to have a winning team, and
Hmm.
obviously we're doing pretty well right now. We've got a very good coach as well that engages with the community, I think, in an appropriate way. First and foremost, he's a
Hmm.
professional soccer team coach. You can tell that.
Oh yeah.
But he and the rest of the team understand that fan base interaction. So you put all that together, and what it needs to lead to is more and more people going to games, and that'll be the ultimate litmus test.
And what is having a pro soccer team in town? Obviously, we see the slogans all over the side of Slugger Field. We see pro soccer, pro city. What does it mean to have that pro soccer, pro city vibe? What do you think that gives to the community?
Well, it helps a lot. Obviously, Louisville is a city that's got tremendous momentum behind it right now. From our economic development perspective, our built environment perspective, we've got 7 hotels being built downtown, and the location of the field downtown, it really helps drive that energy even further. And it also reaches out to some other folks that haven't been engaged in the community, maybe with other sports.
Hmm.
We've got a good international presence that comes to the games as well that we haven't seen at maybe some other activities. It's reasonably priced and affordable to go to at the same time. So it just expands the breadth of the activities that we have in our city, and any pro city is going to have those.
Hmm. So, speaking of other pro cities, I know we, as a city, have had some affiliation or some interaction with Mayor Kevin Johnson in Sacramento. Specifically, I think with regard to NBA and the franchises. Is there anything we've done to look at what Sacramento has done? With they've had a very successful USL soccer team. They're looking to expand into the MLS. Is there anything we've done to look at their success and to see what can translate and to draw any inspiration from them? Or
Yeah, Mayor Johnson and I are both officers in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and then he came here 2 or 3 years ago to speak at one of our Leadership Louisville events. So, and I was out in Sacramento last year when the championship game was played there, so I went to the championship game with him. And here's the template to be an MLS team: is one, you got to prove that you can have people show up at the games.
Mhm.
Sacramento's the leading attendance team in the league right now. I think they're probably 2,000 or so ahead of us.
Mhm.
They've got a bigger metro area than we have. They're a little bit over 2 million. We're about 1,400,000. So you got to have people show up, and we're certainly big enough to support an MLS team from an attendance standpoint. But I mean, that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Mhm.
The other thing that you need to have, obviously, is you need to have investors that can pay an MLS fee right now, which is, I believe, right now in the 40 to $70 million range or so. So of all the professional sports, it's the most affordable right now. Be a great time to get in as an
Mhm.
MLS owner, in my view, because the sport's going to do nothing but grow. So it's about attendance, and then it's making sure that you've got ownership interest in the community or from with outside of the community that wants to be part of an MLS ownership group.
Mhm. And now, of course, you're in your second term, and as you look toward leaving, I don't know if I want to say legacy, but if you look toward leaving the city with, the investments that we've made, what do you hope? What's your vision for this team, especially coming, from an investment standpoint, and that the city has welcomed them, the city has helped them. What's your vision for seeing the team over the next couple of years?
Well, it all depends on how much support we get from the community. So, one, I'm super glad that they're here right now.
Hmm.
And I have not seen any indication it's going to do anything other than grow. So, if it grows, then the question becomes what's next? And so, a stadium would be a natural next step. And the question is, do you go ahead and build a full size MLS stadium that's about 20,000 seats, or do you start with about 10,000 or so that can be expanded to 20?
Hmm.
And then the question is, where does that money come from? And so if there's lots of people attending, then there might be support for that. But that would be uh, either a piece of fully funded public infrastructure or be done with a private ownership group at the same time. So
Hmm.
whenever you're pursuing a professional sport like this, it's going to be a combination of support from the community, facility for the team to play in, how the facility will be financed, where it will be located in the community is extremely important, that it be a kind of a catalytic location at the same time. And then who's that ownership group that comes together to make it all happen so that the city feels like there's a great balance between any public money that goes in and the private money that goes in.
Okay. So now you said you've been to a couple games, or you've been to all the games. Obviously, we're a couple games into the season though now, and looking at the content, what's your prediction for this season? You think Louisville City makes the playoffs? How high do you think they can go this season?
Well, I mean, if the past is any indication of the future here for the league, we've got a really great shot of being in the playoffs. And of course, offensively, we need to get a little more untracked. Last night was the first time where we really started scoring the way the coach feels like we can. You know, if you've seen most of our home games anyway, we've controlled the ball quite a bit. I mean, more than our opponents. We just haven't scored like we should. So I think I would predict that, you know, we're on a breakthrough moment of more scoring, which means more victories, which means a playoff appearance, and then we'll be making a hard run toward the finals.
Of course, of course. Now, I don't know if you want to play favorites, but do you have a favorite player so far? Anybody that stuck out that you just love the way they play?
We've got good energy on the field, I got to tell you. And our keeper obviously has been very effective at the same time. I think one of the things I appreciate about this team and our coach is, first and foremost, I think about them as a team of positive individuals that have got great energy and optimism toward the game. And that's rubbing off on our fan base here in Louisville as well. So it's team sport. We win together.
Now, have you talked with Coach O'Connor? Has he been pretty happy with his move to Louisville?
He seems to be. You know, I mean, he's got his game face on almost all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if he's here in Louisville or Orlando or wherever he might be. He's a man that thinks about soccer, football,
of course,
from his country.
And that's what we want. I think
exactly
first and foremost, we want to focus on.
And I think what I hear is appreciation for the support they're getting. He was here at the very beginning when we were looking at the stadium and how we were going to be able to convert that from a baseball field to a soccer pitch, back and forth in that thing. And the city has done everything that we've committed to do, and I believe the ownership group has as well. So as a coach, that's all you can ask for.
Okay, all right. Well, Mayor Fischer, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I appreciate your time.